We've spent the last 5 days at Dorrigo on the northern tablelands in New South Wales. The Waterfall Way is a scenic drive starting from Coffs Harbour. It takes around 2.5 hours to traverse out to the New England National Park of Armidale. You travel through 5 national parks. There are numerous waterfalls, lush rainforest. It's a spectacular drive. The scenery is beautiful, especially after it's rained here. This house would have the best view and it'd be forever changing in the seasons. We spent the last 5 days at a place called Dorrigo. It was first settled in 1838. They thought the word may have come from an Aboriginal word, Durradunga, meaning stringy bark tree. Timber, particularly red cedar, attracted many people to come here. It had 48 timber mills here and was considered one of the largest timber producing areas in New South Wales. In 1906, a Mr. Dowse began the potato industry, planting 3 acres of potatoes, which yielded 40 tonnes an acre. Some potatoes weighed as much as 3.2 kilos and were about 18 inches long. And that's a big chip. We thought Dorrigo would be a good base for us. The first day we went to Urunga on the coast. Urunga is famous for its boardwalk along its wetlands.
They said the boardwalk was 150 metres long. I think there's been a misprint somewhere because we've already come 150 and I can see at least another 400 or 500 metres of boardwalk, which is good. Urunga's, I don't know anymore.
Nestled in the Bellingen Valley is the town of Bellingen. We happened to come across it on a Sunday, which was good because they had the local markets happening there. About 240 stalls, so it was quite big. Covered everything, local arts and crafts, food stalls, local produce, you name it was there. And there were lots of people looking around. It was a good market. It was well worth the visit.
From India is going to have curry chicken.
Curry chicken.
In India we said the man with blue shirt that eats chicken only grows wiser and gets a better dress sense.
Dorrigo has the largest static display of railway rolling stock in the southern hemisphere. There are 57 locomotives, 300 carriages and 13 wagons. It's privately owned, so you can't get into it. They do intend to make it open to public on certain days, but I think it's a long way off yet. Some of those carriages are in such poor condition. They're just rotting away, used for spare parts and things like that. So it's a bit of a shame that they can't get it up and running and get the public in there to help them finance it. But for any railway buff, it's a good place to come. There are lots of waterfalls around here on the plateau because it's so wet.
Ebor Falls is a 2-tiered waterfall which is on the Guy Fawkes River. It's quite easy access to the lower and the upper falls. It flows even in the dry season, they tell me.
Walk down to the lookout, but I'm afraid the clouds have beaten us and we can't see a thing. As you travel out to the New England National Park, things get decidedly drier. You can see the difference in the landscape and the vegetation as it changes.
This time we're at what's known as the Wallamombi Falls. Not like the last place we just called into. This time there's no clouds, no fog, no rain and no water. Wallamombi is actually an Aboriginal for meeting of two waters, which is probably because of the 2 waterfalls that they have got here. We are now at Bakers Creek Falls. And, unfortunately these are dry too. So obviously we're heading further west into the drought affected areas. The huge gorge that you've just seen was carved over 300 million years just by water. Water's determined to find the low spots and head for the sea. One of the interesting things I read on the plaque was that Some of this water, even from this gorge, will eventually find its way down through Adelaide in the Murray and out to sea. So if you wanted to throw your little paper boat in, you'd have to do a lot of walking to follow it.
We've come back to Point Lookout because the other day when we came, it was a total whiteout. You could hardly see your hand in front of your face, it was so bad. So we've decided we'd come back. It's a bit touch and go. The clouds are coming and closing in, and then they're clearing away again, so you are getting some views. They tell me that on a really clear day you can see 70 k's down to the sea from this point, so it must be a fairly spectacular sight. Our last day today, we're just in the process of packing up. It's as windy as, the weather's been a bit funny here. It's rained most days. A lot of fog comes and goes, and it got quite cold at times. And yet when we first came and when we're leaving now, it's warm. All in all, it's been good. It's been a good place to visit. It's interesting. Where we are is a good base. It makes it easy just to leave the van here and travel up the road to the waterfalls or into the national parks. It's been good. So all in all, I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have too.